You did not survive by accident. And this is something you must finally understand, even if your mind still resists it. Survival, real survival, is not merely about continuing to breathe or waking up each morning and forcing your body to move through the day. Survival, in the deeper sense, is about not allowing your inner core to collapse when everything around you pressures it to do so. You were placed in situations that slowly drained you, not all at once, but gradually, patiently, like water carving stone. Each day demanded something from you, while giving very little back. Each night asked you to carry thoughts that had no answers. You learned how to smile when you wanted to disappear. You learned how to stay silent when screaming felt easier. And this is why the congratulations are not dramatic, not loud, not wrapped in fireworks. They come quietly, because what you survived was quiet too. There were moments when you questioned your own strength, moments when you wondered whether you were weak for feeling tired, for feeling heavy, for feeling lost. But weakness is loud and impatient. What you demonstrated was endurance. Endurance is silent. Endurance wakes up and continues even when motivation is gone. You did not always believe in yourself, but you showed up anyway. You did not always see the path, but you took the next step anyway. That is not luck. That is discipline forming inside you without your permission. Think about how many times you were close to giving up, not in dramatic ways, but in small, dangerous ways, losing focus, losing hope, losing care. These are the moments that destroy people quietly. Not failure, not poverty, not rejection, but the slow erosion of meaning. And yet, something inside you refused to fully shut down. Even when you felt numb, even when joy felt distant, there was a small part of you that kept observing, kept breathing, kept moving forward. That part is what God is congratulating today. You were tested in isolation. Some of the hardest battles you faced were invisible to others. There were no witnesses, no supporters, no applause. People assumed you were fine because you did not complain. They assumed you were strong because you did not ask for help. But strength was never about being unbreakable. It was about being breakable and still choosing not to collapse. You bent, but you did not shatter. You paused, but you did not retreat. This is a rare quality, and it only develops under pressure. You learned restraint. You learned to control your reactions when life provoked you. You learned to swallow words, to delay impulses, to wait when everything inside you wanted immediate relief. Like a martial artist holding a stance while muscles burn, you stayed where you were even when discomfort screamed at you to move. This is training. Not physical training, but internal training. And internal training always happens before external reward. There were nights when your thoughts turned against you. Nights when your past replayed itself, when mistakes resurfaced, when regrets felt heavier than sleep. You carried responsibilities that did not feel fair. You carried expectations that were not chosen by you. And still, you did not abandon yourself. Even in moments of self-doubt, you kept a thread of dignity intact. You did not become cruel. You did not become reckless. You did not allow bitterness to fully define you. That restraint alone shows maturity far beyond what most people ever develop. God does not congratulate talent. Talent is given freely. God does not congratulate comfort. Comfort teaches nothing. God congratulates endurance because endurance reshapes the soul. Endurance humbles the ego, sharpens awareness, and strips away illusions. You may not see it yet, but you are not the same person you were before the struggle began. Your perception is deeper. Your patience is wider. Your tolerance for meaningless things is lower. This is growth, even if it arrived through pain. You were forced to sit with yourself. No distractions strong enough to save you. No shortcuts powerful enough to remove the discomfort. And in that stillness, even if you resisted it, you became acquainted with who you truly are. Not the version you present to the world, but the version that exists when no one is watching. This self-knowledge is uncomfortable, but it is priceless. Many people live their entire lives without ever facing themselves honestly. You did not have that luxury, and because of that, you are stronger in ways that cannot be measured. Survival changed your priorities. You stopped chasing noise. You stopped believing every promise. You became selective with your energy. You learned that not every battle deserves your strength, and not every voice deserves your attention. This discernment is not arrogance. It is wisdom earned through exhaustion. Only someone who has been overwhelmed learns the value of simplicity. Only someone who has been hurt learns the value of boundaries. The congratulations are not saying that everything you went through was good. Pain is not good. Loss is not good. Confusion is not good. But meaning can still be extracted from suffering. Like forging steel, heat alone does nothing unless it is followed by pressure. You experienced both, and what emerged is not a perfect person, but a grounded one, someone who understands fragility and therefore respects strength. You may still feel tired. You may still feel uncertain. This does not invalidate the congratulations. Healing does not erase fatigue instantly. Strength does not remove sensitivity. But now, beneath the tiredness, there is stability. Beneath the uncertainty, there is trust. Not blind trust in outcomes, but trust in your ability to endure whatever comes next. This is the real reward. You survived the phase that breaks many people permanently. Some become resentful. Some become cynical. Some lose their humanity. You did not. You remained aware. You remained thoughtful. Even when you were angry, you did not let anger define you completely. Even when you were afraid, you continued to move. This balance is rare, and it is the foundation of inner power. So when you hear, "Congratulations," do not imagine celebration. Imagine acknowledgement. Imagine a quiet nod from the universe recognizing your effort. A recognition that you were watching, learning, adjusting, even when it felt pointless. Nothing was wasted. Not the tears, not the waiting, not the confusion. Each experience carved something away that no longer belonged to you. Now you stand with less illusion and more clarity, less desperation and more presence, less need to prove and more ability to observe. This is what survival gives to those who do not run from it. This is why the message reached you today. Not to excite you, but to steady you. You are still here. And more importantly, you are still yourself. That is why the congratulations are real. Do not misunderstand this moment. The mind is quick to label everything as luck or coincidence because that is easier than taking responsibility for awareness. But what is happening now is not random, and it is not a reward falling from the sky. It is a shift taking place inside you. Subtle but decisive. A shift that could not have happened earlier, no matter how much you wanted it to. Timing is not controlled by desire. Timing is controlled by readiness. For a long time, your mind was noisy. It searched constantly. It asked too many questions, most of them rooted in fear. Why is this happening to me? Why am I behind? Why are others moving faster? Why is nothing clear? These questions did not come from curiosity, they came from restlessness. And a restless mind cannot see straight. It only reacts. Life kept presenting the same lessons in different forms, and you felt stuck, not realizing that repetition was not punishment, it was training. Today is different, not because life suddenly changed its rules, but because your relationship with life has changed. There is a quiet acceptance forming inside you. Not surrender in the sense of giving up, but surrender in the sense of no longer fighting reality. This is an important distinction. When you stop fighting what is, energy becomes available. When energy becomes available, clarity appears. This is why awareness always precedes progress. Luck is noisy. It excites the ego. It makes people careless. Awareness is quiet. It grounds the body. It slows the breath. It sharpens perception. What you are experiencing now belongs to awareness. You are beginning to notice patterns instead of resisting them. You are beginning to sense direction instead of demanding guarantees. This is not dramatic, which is why many people miss it. But this is where real change starts. In the past, you wanted certainty before moving. You wanted signs before committing. You wanted assurance before trusting yourself. That mindset keeps people frozen. Now something has softened. You still do not have all the answers, but you are less disturbed by that fact. You are learning to walk without seeing the entire road. This is maturity. This is discipline of the mind. January 1922-6 is not marked by external symbols. There is no visible door opening in front of everyone. The shift is internal. You are beginning to understand that chasing outcomes weakens presence, that forcing timelines creates tension, that comparing paths creates unnecessary suffering. This understanding does not come from books or speeches. It comes from exhaustion, from trying everything else and seeing that it does not work. Your awareness now is sharper because illusion has been stripped away. You have seen what does not last. You have seen how quickly circumstances change. You have seen how unreliable validation can be. And because of this, you no longer cling as tightly. Detachment is not indifference. Detachment is clarity without attachment. It allows you to engage fully without being controlled by expectation. When awareness shifts, responsibility follows. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for permission. You stop looking outside for constant reassurance. This can feel uncomfortable at first because it removes excuses. But it is also liberating. You realize that while you cannot control everything, you can control how you respond, how you train your attention, how you discipline your thoughts. This is why God is not promising you ease. Ease creates weakness. Awareness creates strength. You are being congratulated not for what you will receive, but for what you are now capable of carrying. Opportunities require stability. Without it, they become burdens. Blessings require humility. Without it, they become distractions. Your awareness is becoming stable enough to hold what comes next without losing balance. You may notice that your reactions are slower now. You pause before responding. You observe before judging. You breathe before acting. This is not hesitation. This is presence. Presence allows you to choose instead of react. This is the foundation of mastery in any discipline, whether physical, mental, or spiritual. The Shaolin path begins with control of the mind, not the body. Earlier, you were impatient with progress. Now you are patient with process. Earlier, you were obsessed with results. Now you are focused on alignment. This does not mean ambition disappeared. It means ambition matured. It is no longer desperate. It is no longer loud. It is steady. And steady movement always travels farther than rushed effort. You are starting to trust silence. Silence between thoughts. Silence between actions. Silence between phases of life. Silence used to scare you because it forced you to face uncertainty. Now silence feels like space. Space to observe. Space to recover. Space to choose wisely. This shift alone changes everything. God's congratulations are quiet because awareness does not need announcement. It reveals itself through composure, through grounded posture, through decisions made without inner conflict. You are beginning to feel less pulled in different directions, less torn between options, less pressured to explain yourself. This is alignment. There will still be challenges. Awareness does not remove difficulty. It changes how difficulty is experienced. Pain no longer feels like punishment. Delay no longer feels like failure. Obstacles no longer feel personal. They become part of the path, not barriers against it. This perspective saves enormous energy. You are no longer asking life to prove itself to you. You are learning to prove yourself to life through consistency, discipline, and integrity. This is why the shift had to happen now and not earlier. Earlier, you were not ready to hold responsibility without resentment. Now, you are learning to carry it with calm. This moment does not promise speed. It promises direction. Direction is more valuable than speed because speed without direction leads to exhaustion. Direction allows you to move slowly without losing confidence. You know why you are walking. even if you do not know exactly where every step leads. The congratulations are an acknowledgement of this readiness. Readiness to listen instead of demand. Readiness to act instead of complain. Readiness to wait without collapsing internally. This is rare. Many people reach adulthood without ever developing this capacity. So do not rush to label this day as lucky or special in a superficial way. Its value lies in what has changed inside you. A calmer mind, a steadier breath, a clearer sense of self. These are not visible trophies, but they are unshakable foundations. From here onward, life will respond differently, not because it favors you, but because you are finally responding correctly to it. And that is the real shift. What is approaching your life cannot be handled by the version of you that existed before the struggle. This is a truth that is difficult to accept when you are in pain, because pain makes everything feel like loss. But pain is also a filter. It removes what is unnecessary, what is weak, what is dependent on comfort. If what is coming had arrived earlier, it would have crushed you, distracted you, or corrupted you. That is why it did not come then. Timing protected you when you thought it was punishing you. For a long time, you believed that your suffering meant you were being left behind. You watched others progress while you felt delayed, restricted, and held back by circumstances you could not control. But delay is not denial. Delay is refinement. Life was not keeping you from success, it was preparing you to survive it without losing yourself. Many people collapse not from failure, but from sudden opportunity they are not internally prepared to handle. The version of you that once sought quick relief, quick recognition, or quick results would not have endured what lies ahead. Responsibility requires stability. Influence requires humility. Growth requires structure. These qualities cannot be rushed. They are built through repetition, through boredom, through resistance. You were placed in conditions that demanded consistency when motivation was absent. That is the most difficult training of all. Like forging steel, pressure alone is not enough. Heat softens the metal, but without controlled shaping, it becomes useless. You were heated by loss, by uncertainty, by isolation. Then you were shaped by responsibility, by silence, by restraint. Each experience removed a layer of immaturity. Each setback forced you to confront your limits honestly. This is how strength becomes reliable instead of fragile. You may not feel powerful yet. That is because real power does not announce itself. It settles into posture. It reveals itself through calm decision-making under stress. Earlier, stress overwhelmed you. Now it slows you down. It forces you to breathe, to assess, to respond instead of react. This change alone signals readiness. What is coming will demand patience without resentment. It will require effort without immediate reward. It will test your integrity when shortcuts appear tempting. These tests would have broken your focus before. Now they will refine it further. You have learned that every choice carries weight. You no longer act impulsively because you understand the cost of recovery. You were stripped of certain comforts intentionally, not to punish you, but to detach you. Attachment makes people weak. When identity is tied to outcomes, fear controls behavior. You experienced loss so that you could learn how to stand without leaning on unstable supports. This independence is not loneliness, it is self-reliance. Earlier validation mattered too much. Approval guided decisions, comparison distorted perception. Now, those voices are quieter. You are less reactive to praise and less destroyed by criticism. This emotional regulation is essential for what comes next. Without it, progress would turn into pressure and opportunity into anxiety. The future you are stepping into will not tolerate chaos inside you. External order requires internal order first. This is why your habits were challenged, why distractions were removed, why certain relationships dissolved. You were being trained to focus. Focus is not intensity. Focus is clarity sustained over time. There were moments when you wanted to escape, moments when rest felt impossible because stopping meant feeling everything at once. but you stayed. You learned to sit with discomfort without needing to fix it immediately. This ability to remain present during difficulty is rare, and it cannot be taught through theory. It is earned through experience. What is coming will also ask you to lead yourself more than ever, to hold standards even when no one is watching, to maintain discipline when structure disappears. This self-governance was impossible before. You needed external pressure to function. Now, the pressure has been internalized. You guide yourself. Do not romanticize the future. It will bring its own weight. Growth always does. But unlike before, you will not face it with desperation. You will face it with preparedness. Preparedness does not remove fear completely. It makes fear manageable. It places it in the background instead of the center. You have learned that shortcuts delay mastery. You have learned that avoidance multiplies pain. You have learned that discipline is not punishment, it is protection. These lessons are not theoretical for you. They are lived. That is why they will hold under pressure. The path ahead requires the version of you that was forged, not the version that hope. Hope without discipline collapses. Discipline transforms hope into direction. You now understand this difference deeply. That understanding changes how you move, how you choose, how you commit. Even now, parts of you are still shedding. Old identities, old fears, old expectations. Let them go without resistance. They cannot follow you forward. Carrying them would slow you down and compromise balance. Every martial tradition teaches this. You advance only with what is essential. The congratulations are not celebrating arrival. They are acknowledging preparation. Preparation that was painful, slow, and often misunderstood. Preparation that isolated you while strengthening you. Preparation that removed illusions and replaced them with competence. You are no longer waiting to become ready. You are becoming capable. That difference changes everything. Now comes the most delicate phase of all. After survival, after awareness, after preparation, there is a danger that appears quietly, almost politely. It is the danger of forgetting the discipline that carried you here. Many people stumble not in hardship, but in the moment when pressure eases and confidence grows. This is why the final instruction is not to rush forward, not to celebrate loudly, not to announce your progress, but to remain humble, disciplined, and faithful to the principles that shaped you. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking less about yourself. It is remembering that strength was not created by ego, but by consistency. You did not endure because you were special. You endured because you stayed present when escape would have been easier. That distinction keeps arrogance away. Arrogance makes people careless. Carelessness erodes structure. Structure is what allowed you to survive. As life begins to respond differently to you, as movement becomes smoother and resistance less constant, you may feel an urge to relax your standards. This is natural, but dangerous. Discipline must not depend on struggle alone. If discipline exists only when life is hard, it will disappear when life becomes comfortable. True discipline remains when no one is watching, when there is no urgency, when effort feels optional. You trained yourself in silence before. Continue to move in silence now, not because you are hiding, but because noise distorts intention. When progress is announced too early, ego interferes. Ego seeks validation. Validation creates dependence. Dependence weakens resolve. Quiet progress keeps attention on the work itself. Faith at this stage is not blind belief in positive outcomes. Faith is trust in your process. Trust that doing the right thing consistently, even when results are delayed, will compound over time. Faith is remaining ethical when shortcuts are available. Faith is staying grounded when praise arrives. Faith is continuing your training when life becomes easier, not abandoning it. You will face new tests. They will be subtler than before. Instead of pain, you will face temptation. Instead of loss, you will face opportunity. Instead of pressure, you will face comfort. These tests are more dangerous because they do not announce themselves as threats. they feel like rewards. Without awareness, they slowly weaken discipline. Remain rooted in simple practices. Control your breath, control your posture, control your attention. Complexity comes later. Mastery always begins with fundamentals. When emotions rise, return to breath. When doubt appears, return to action. When pride surfaces, return to service. These anchors keep you stable. You do not need to prove anything anymore. Proof seeking is a sign of insecurity. Security expresses itself through calm consistency. Let your actions speak through time. Results that are rushed fade quickly. Results that are built patiently last. There will be moments when you feel ahead of others. Do not allow this perception to create separation. Everyone is walking a different phase of the path. Compassion maintains balance. Judging others elevates ego and lowers awareness. Stay observant, not superior. Move forward with certainty, but without force. Force creates resistance. Certainty creates momentum. You do not need to push life. Align with it. Respond accurately to what is required in each moment. This responsiveness is intelligence in motion. You may still feel fear at times. This does not mean you are regressing. Fear is information, not an enemy. Listen to it without obeying it. Let it sharpen your attention, not control your decisions. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is disciplined action in its presence. Keep your routines strong. When routines weaken, standards drop. When standards drop, identity erodes. Identity built on discipline is stable. Identity built on outcomes is fragile. Choose stability. Do not romanticize struggle, but do not avoid effort either. Growth now will be quieter, steadier, and more internal. External recognition may come or it may not. Neither should change how you train, how you live, how you treat others. Walk forward knowing that guidance does not always feel comforting. Sometimes it feels like restraint. Sometimes it feels like delay. Trust it anyway. Guidance has already proven itself in your life. It kept you standing when collapse was easier. You are not being asked to become perfect. You are being asked to remain awake. Awake to your habits. Awake to your motivations. Awake to your responsibility. Awareness sustained through discipline becomes wisdom. So take this congratulations not as a finish line, but as a quiet signal. A signal that you are aligned enough to continue without constant correction. That you can be trusted with more because you learned how to carry less. Stand grounded. Move patiently. Act with integrity. And continue forward without losing yourself.